everyone, and welcome to this episode of the ASMG Back Pass. Now, we need to get everyone caught up on the competition in both premier divisions of the Georgia Conference as we go into this last week of the regular season. Now, still a lot to be decided, but we do have some answers regarding the division titles in both the divisions, the playoff picture, and the competition to avoid relegation in both those divisions. So let's get started by reviewing the results from both divisions, starting with the North. And we'll look at the first game here. It's going to be Potros, who are hosting Atlanta Fire. And of course, Atlanta Fire are embroiled in a relegation battle with SSL in that North Division. And Potros, who've missed out, they were defending champions for the division, but they missed out on defending that early on with some rather mediocre form early on. But they've been steady, and they're ending up towards the end of the season in a mid-table position, but outside the playoff picture. That's, I guess, probably one of the bigger surprises from the season, when they were so strong last season with the invincible season. No losses, no draws last season, but couldn't put it together quite the way they did last season. And so, but they are safe in the Premier. Will be back in the fall to compete and get back to that station where they are used to seeing at the top of the table. Atlanta Fire, though, who had skipped the last fall, came in sort of as a promoted team from the spring of last year, and have really had a tough time about it. Even had a forfeit, which is really the reason why they're embroiled in a relegation battle at this moment. So they lost this game, which means that the last game of the season for them, but with SSL, is going to be a relegation decider. Now, for Atlanta Fire, they're going to have to win that game in order to have any opportunity to survive for the fall season. But SSL, a draw or a win for them will be enough. But we'll get to that in a moment. When we get to the table, there's a lot of different scenarios regarding playoffs and the division title in the North, as well as relegation, that we can go on in rather better detail. So that's the first game. The second game we are coming up with is FC Birmingham hosting Scenic City FC. FC Birmingham, slightly better than they were last season, where they were flirting with relegation on the last weekend of the season in the competition. But this season, they've finished strongly, had an outside chance at a playoff spot, but just kind of missed out on that. However, they did manage a good result here against Scenic City, who were competing for a division title there. And this one has sort of taken that out of the picture for Scenic City with the 1-1 draw with FC Birmingham here. So an improved performance from FC Birmingham, actually an improved performance with Scenic City as well, as they finished near the top of the table again. They were going neck and neck with Chattanooga Red Wolves. But again, they just missed out on going there, but solid for the playoffs. And they're going to be looking at a second season in the division playoffs that start the weekend of June the 13th and 14th. So that was the second game. The third game that we're going to consider, SSL. We talked about them, a devastatingly bad season for them. There was some promise when they first started the season here in the spring, new coaching, a new roster, so to speak, of players, but they really have not put it together. They've been a little bit disjointed, and actually started to display a little bit poorer form than they had last season, where they were fighting relegation as well. But now they're truly in a relegation dogfight with Atlanta Fire, and didn't do themselves any favor with the heavy defeat to Georgia Impact, who have been one of the quality teams in the North Division this season. So a good 4-1 win for the Georgia Impact against SSL. So we'll take a look now at the division table. Now, for this, I think that you might need a notepad and a slide rule and the like to cover all of the different possibilities they are for not only the division title, but for the playoff spots and what's going on in the relegation spaces. So, but first of all, the Red Wolves are in the catbird seat right now. They hold the destiny in their own hands. However, they have to be very careful with the last weekend of the regular season. If the Red Wolves lose their last game and the Mustangs draw and win, or win both the games, they have 2 games in hand in these final 2 games, they'll draw even with the Red Wolves, and the Mustangs would win the division based on head-to-head tiebreaker due to having defeated the Red Wolves back on match day 3. And so that's a scenario where the Mustangs can overtake the Red Wolves in the fight for the division title. But if the Red Wolves draw their final game and the Mustangs win their final 2 games, the Mustangs will still win the division, this time on points. So they would just jump over them on points. So, but the alternatively, if the Mustangs lose one or both of the remaining games to end the season, the Red Wolves will win on points. And so that's kind of where that fight is. So a lot depends on what's going on. The Mustangs play tonight, as a matter of fact, against Pachuca, Georgia. So you'll be able to start to see some of that battling that's going on tonight. And then, of course, their last game is coming up on the weekend. Now, for the playoffs, as you see here, there's 4 qualifying teams that are in the North. They're already confirmed, but what we don't know yet is who will have home field advantage. And so you'll see there with a P for playoff there beside their names: Chattanooga Red Wolves, Georgia Impact, LSA Mustangs, and Scenic City. And so the deal is that Scenic City have already played all of their regular season games, so they have an actual bye this coming weekend. LSA Mustangs have 2 games to play, as we just mentioned. One is tonight, and then the others on the weekend. So, and then the Georgia Impact have a single game to play. So LSA Mustangs defeated Scenic City. When we're talking about tiebreakers, you got 3 teams tied on 17 points here. But LSA Mustangs defeated Scenic City, which is the tiebreaker with them, which puts them ahead of them. But LSA Mustangs also lost to the Georgia Impact. So Georgia Impact owns that tiebreaker there, if nothing else changes. So the way you see it now is the way it will be, with the 2 home teams being Chattanooga and Georgia Impact, and LSA Mustangs and Scenic City, though qualifying for the playoffs, will be away in the first round. So that's kind of where that is now. The only other thing to worry about besides the playoffs and the league title is what's going on in the relegation battle. So, and this is very, very simple. It all comes down to the match between Atlanta Fire and SSL. These are the 2 teams fighting to stay out of the relegation zone at the end of the season and being put down to Division I for the fall. And coincidentally, they play each other in the last game of the season. So they also played previously in the season, and that was a 2-2 result. So they've drawn then. So now it goes down to a tiebreaker being goal difference. However, the way that Atlanta Fire had that forfeit, they were deducted 3 points during the season, which is why they're sitting on 2 now. At this point, just a point below where SSL is. So SSL is in the better position because a draw or a win for them gets them to safety, and Atlanta Fire would go down to Division I for the fall. And so for Atlanta Fire, it's a win. It's a win that's necessary in order for them to be safe, and that would doom SSL down to Division I for the fall season. So this is going to be a huge match up. It's going to be survival day for one of these teams, and so it's going to be a great interest there. That's a game that's going to be at Pinecrest Academy, and I believe that Atlanta Fire has their own broadcast system there. So check out their YouTube channel, or they might, I believe, have VO as well. So check that out, and you can watch all the action, see the drama unfold there. So before we get into the actual matches that are coming up on the weekend, it's something we haven't done so far this season is the Golden Boot race, and we wanted to kind of look and see who's in the lead for that, because whichever individual player ends up with the most goals will earn the Golden Boot award for the season. And we're going to split that up into uh, two different golden boots for each one for each of the divisions in the Georgia Conference. And so when we're looking at the North here, we have a quandary. There are four players tied on 7 goals. With Wilfred Camden, who was the Golden Boot winner from last season in the division. He's up there again with Sebastian Carrera from LSA Mustangs, and then Tavar Lawrence, who's done very well with FC Birmingham, and then Lee Peek Song from Atlanta Fire, one of the shining positives that Atlanta Fire have had this season. He's been the linchpin for the scoring for that club. So, but again, 5 through 8, there's some players on 5. Now, of course, Scenic City are done for the season, so Jack's not going to be able to. Jack Conrad is not going to be able to get any further goals for the rest of the season, but the other players can with multiple goals in the final weekend. So it's a wide open race there for the Golden Boot in the North Division. So as you're looking at the different games and see these players' names on the score sheet, you'll have to come back and check and see how that race is going for the balance of the season. So very, very competitive, not only for the teams, but also for the Golden Boot here. So as we get into the weekend, though, we'll look at the games, the final games coming up on the weekend. Of course, tonight, actually, we have Pachuca, Georgia. They're technically the home team, but they're going to be playing at Meadow Creek Stadium at Meadow Creek High School against LSA Mustangs. This is a critical game for LSA Mustangs because they must win it in order to, win or draw in order to have any hope of overtaking the Chattanooga Red Wolves in this final weekend. And it would be better to win it because dropping points, you're going to then have to hope that the Red Wolves loses their last game in order for you to overtake them with a win in the last game of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how both of these teams fare with the Red Wolves there, as you see, at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Again, another home team that's playing away. They switched up their games in their facilities earlier in the season. So they played in Chattanooga earlier in the season. Now they're going to play in FC Birmingham, although technically it's supposed to be a Red Wolves home game here. But it'll be 6 o'clock Central Time. Get those right, because it's in Birmingham at Gardendale High School. And so another game that's going to be a critical result for the Red Wolves, who can clinch the division with a win. So something to look forward to. And of course, FC Birmingham's looking out to close with a positive as they prepare for the fall season coming up later this year. And Atlanta Fire, again, the relegation battle cup game, I call it. Everything hinges on the result here. A draw or a win for SSL means safety for them. And Atlanta Fire, they have to win. A draw doesn't help them, and a loss will doom them as well. So Atlanta Fire's win and survive, or lose and draw and play in Division I next season. Georgia Impact and Pachuca, Georgia, they're preparing for the playoffs there, Georgia Impact. And Pachuca, Georgia had a very solid season this season, but failed to reach the heights that they had last season by missing out on the playoff spot. But they'll be back in Premier for next season as they try to get back into those playoff spots, and maybe better for them as Ricardo Montoya gets his troops ready for another season coming up. These seasons will turn about pretty fast here, as we know that the UPSL plays year-round. So they won't have to wait very long. And of course, the last game on the weekend, LSA Mustangs going up against Portoros FC, another game at Meadow Creek Stadium. A lot will depend on what happens tonight when they play Pachuca. But, win or draw, even then, it's going to be a tough game against Portoros, who, despite having a less than stellar season, by their standards this season, Porteros, still a formidable team to play and a very professionally operated team. So they're not going to come there with any other desire but to win this game going out of this season as they get prepared for the next season coming up. So all very, very interesting games in the North Division to look forward to. A very compelling Golden Boot race as well. So we'll see how this all rings out after the end of this coming weekend. So now we'll get into the results and the situation at contending with the South Division. We'll get into the results first of all, and then we'll go down the all the different scenarios that we have to consider for the title and the playoffs and relegation. So first of all, UMA FC. This is a team that had 5 games to make up in 2 weeks. They were had so many games in hand, and they started out this run near the relegation spots. But because they had so many games in hand, you really had to wait and see what the results were going to be. And so they had this makeup game against Augusta Arsenal, and they won that game 3-2. A very entertaining match that we had here on ASMG, and a critical win for them as they were looking forward to getting up to back up to where they could compete for a playoff spot. And this was one of the things that they had to do. Augusta Arsenal's had a fantastic first season in Premier for them, and just fell short in this match at a great facility where East Atlanta plays, a USL team, natural turf there in a driving rainstorm. We even had a brief lightning delay during that game, but finished up with a 3-2 victory for UMA, which moved them a little bit further up the table. And they also had a return match against Augusta Arsenal that we'll consider in this run of scores in just a moment. So we get on to the next game here, FC Columbus Elite and Kalonji Per Profile. Again, Kalonji Per Profile so far has been the most dominating team in the season. FC Columbus have had a fantastic season as well, and it just really shows you how dominating they have been when as good as FC Columbus have been and as good as a team that they are. A 5-1 defeat to Per Profile has been the norm for the range of scoring that Per Profile have done this season. In all games, they've scored 41 goals, and they've only conceded 4 throughout. So it really shows you, the level of consistency that they've had and the strength they hold in defense when they're playing, and how prolific the scoring is. So it's a real challenge for anybody that comes up against them, even a quality team like FC Columbus. But no shame for them, as they, like I said, have already really put themselves in a great position for postseason play. But a fantastic result for Kalonji Per Profile that put them even closer to, at that time, challenging for or confirming the repeat for the division title. And so the third game that we'll consider, Angeles, 4-0 victories over LSA Norcross Pro. Angeles, of course, they were flirting there with relegation for a little while, but this made it safe for them as they finished this game successfully with a rather heavy victory over LSA Norcross, who have had a torrid season. They've had one game that they won all season. They are the team that is confirmed relegated, and so there's nothing that they can do to remedy that for the last game of the season. As good as the sister team, the LSA Mustangs, are doing in the North, this is how bad LSA Norcross have been doing in the South. So Coach Galdamez will be very unhappy with the performance of that team, and I'm sure he'll remedy that in the off season. But they will have to go to Division One to regroup and get ready for another challenge for promotion, possibly this coming fall. That is the results from that match. And then, of course, Red Top fell to the Georgia Revolution. Revolution kept at the time their slim hopes for a division title alive with this victory. They've played pretty consistently, just falling short in having the misfortune of being in the division with Kalonji Pro Profile, who are doing so well in there. Otherwise, they would have had a more serious challenge for the Premier Division title, but did very well, and it's going to be one of the teams that's going to be looking forward to a home field advantage as the rest of the season plays out. So good result for them, good season for the Revolution as they go into this final weekend. And of course, that return match ended up in a draw between UMA FC against Augusta Arsenal. They had played on Friday. They played again on Sunday. And for their second game, it ended in a draw. But it was positive points for UMA, and that moved them up a little bit further in the table as they got, continued to try to have their challenge on a playoff spot. So, and we'll take a look at all of the scenarios for the playoffs here in just a moment as we consider the last result. This is the game that confirmed Kalonji Pro Profile as division champions. A game where they won 10-2 going away and defeating in a heavy manner UFA Lawrenceville, who've had a decent first season in the Premier for Georgia, but could not match the prolific scoring and the strong defense that Kalonji Pro Profile have displayed all season. 10 goals is the most they've scored on any club in the season. And with that, you had two players with hat tricks, Zane Hilton and Wanja Madard, who have been fantastic, and both are 1 and 2 in the Golden Boot, which we'll see a little bit later in our review here. But UFA Lawrenceville, again, you look at that scoreline, you think, oh wow, it was a tough season for them. But they although it has been a tough season, it's been a successful one, I believe, for them, being able to survive. At times challenging for a playoff spot as they were getting through the season, but really built a good foundation for the upcoming fall season coming up as they close out the spring season here. So, no shame in the result when you consider how well Kalonji have been doing throughout the season. So it'll stand to be seen what Kalonji can do in the postseason, as they've confirmed first place already. But they play tonight against UMA, and then they'll have a final game of the season as they get ready for postseason play and possibly more. So that'll be an entertaining and strong team to see who can knock them off their perch later on in the season. So we'll look at the league table here, and as I said before, Kalonji Pro Profile are the champions of the South Division for the second season in a row. Still 2 games to play. Scored 41 goals, conceding only 4, gives them a goal difference of 37. And I'll have to check the record books and see what that record has been. I think UMA had a better goal difference in the Division 1 championship season that they had. And of course, they'll be playing Pro Profile tonight at Shiloh. As a matter of fact, we'll look at those matchups after this. But Kalonji Pro Profile and Georgia Revolution are the only confirmed teams here for the playoffs right now. So other teams that are fighting for those other 2 playoff spots are going to be FC Columbus Elite. They're on 16 points right now with 1 game to play. And it's interesting for Columbus is that they own the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Revolution. So if they win and the Revs lose, they would get that home field advantage in the first round of the division playoffs. So that's what's at stake for those 2 teams. Augusta Arsenal on 14 with 1 game to play. They're going to need some help. They're actually in a playoff spot now, but they're going to need to help themselves by getting a positive result on the weekend just to confirm things for them. The outside team with a chance is UMA FC. They're on 12 points, but they have 2 games to play. And again, like as I said, they have a game tonight against Kalonji Pro Profile, and then a game on the weekend And so we'll look at those matchups in just a moment. So there is an outside chance for them to overtake and get that last playoff spot, but it's going to have to hinge on a lot of different factors coming up for this weekend. So lots of things to look for. Just going to be an interesting game tonight, and then on the weekends to follow, just to see who is going to get those home field. Who's going to, well, first of all, qualify for the playoffs, and then who's going to get the home field. One of the other confirmations that we do have is that LSA Norcross are confirmed relegated. As you see, they're on 3 points there. They cannot catch Angeles, who are on 8. Even with a win, LSA Norcross would only end on 6 points. So it's going to be preparing for next season. It's going to be Division One, and then they're going to have to try to fight their way back into Premier by earning it on the field. So that gives you an idea of what's going on with the different battles that are in that division for playoffs. We have a confirmed champion and a confirmed relegated team there. And so only thing left is home field advantage and who's going to qualify. And we'll take a quick look at the Golden Boot race here. And as I said before, you got Zane Hilton and Medard, both from Kalanji Pro Profile, both trying to get to that Golden Boot. They have 2 more games to play as well. So it's up to Coach Bruno Kalanji if he's going to rest them or play them as to whether or not they'll get any more goals from there. The one player that has a distant chance, and it's really be hard to think about him overtaking them, is Carlos De La Rosa from UFA Lawrenceville on 10 points, but he's done very well there. And of course, the rest down on 6 and 5, going to be out of the running most likely for the rest of the season for that. So it's going to be between the 2 teammates, Zane Hilton and Awanja Medard, 2 prolific scorers, 2 players who both got hat tricks this past weekend. And so they're neck and neck there. And one of the 2 is going to end up with that title. And it looks like Zane Hilton is in the firm lead for that to happen for this coming weekend. All right, so and now we'll just look at that slew of games that we have coming up on the weekend. There's a few things at stake for teams that are searching for those playoff spots. As we mentioned before, we already know Kalanji Pro Profile are going to be are currently the division titles. They've confirmed that. We've confirmed that Norcross is going down as a relegated team, but there's still some unanswered questions as to the playoff places as well as home field advantage. So we have UMAFC with that outside chance at a playoff spot playing against Kalanji Pro Profile. Will they have a full strength squad, or will they rest some players? We don't know until they show up and play tonight. That could be a factor for UMA. But they're going to be desperate to try to get into those playoff spots. So that'll be an interesting game for them. Game's going to be at Shiloh at 7 o'clock tonight. We have a game coming up on Saturday, Georgia Revolution. They want to confirm their home field advantage, so they're going to want a result against UFA Lawrenceville. A game at Old Warhawk Stadium at 7 p.m. And of course, LSA Norcross Pro, they're going to be preparing for next season in Division One. They're going to have a tough game as well this coming weekend at Meadow Creek against FC Columbus Elite, who themselves are looking to try to get into one of those playoff spots. But again, they're going to need some help from others in order to get to that point. Augusta Arsenal, who are currently in that 4th spot, looking to consolidate that with a result against Angeles. And of course, Kalanji Pro Profile. We're going to end up the regular season with the last game in both divisions with a return game against UMA FC again at Shiloh Stadium. Both of those games against UMA are going to be at Shiloh High School there, so that gives them an advantage. Will they finish strong and perfect just as Portros did last season? Will they drop points? That's the only thing to be looking for with these 2 teams. But UMA have a really, really mountain to climb if they hope to get into the postseason play, which means getting a result against Kalanji Pro Profile twice in 3 days time. So that's going to be the look at the upcoming weekend of action. You see what the races are, you see what's at stake for all of the teams in both of the divisions. It's been a fantastic season. I'm very proud of these teams that have been competing in the Georgia Conference. But this is just the beginning as we start a new competition, which is postseason play. So ASMG TV will be there for all the action. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell on the YouTube channel that we have. And you'll catch all of the action, not just the broadcast, but these podcasts that we're doing and other special features that will be coming up in the next few days and weeks. So thank you for watching, and we look forward to talking to you again after this schedule of games coming up on the weekend.